Hi, my name's Phil. I like talking about politics, and in this video I thought I might discuss the debate from yesterday evening where MPs discussed the special report by the Privileges Committee into the malignant seven, the 7 Tory MPs and 3 peers who attacked their investigation into Boris Johnson's lies. But first, if you'd like to be notified of daily news and politics, please subscribe to the channel. So I sort of suggested a couple of days ago, the upshot of the debate, actually it might have been yesterday, the upshot of the debate would be that Tory MPs had to agree that these 7 miscreants were out of order, but that there would probably be no further action, because the last thing the Tories would need are more investigations into their own MPs. Not only would it risk more by-elections if the MPs in question were too dumb to stop their jaws flapping, and some of them definitely are, but as Penny Mordaunt herself said when she opened up the debate, they basically wanted the chapter closing now. They wanted to have this last debate and then move on. Now, the point I always make about holding an MP to account is absolutely listen to what they say in a debate, of course, but then look at how they vote. Is it consistent? If it's consistent, fine. But if, for example, an MP makes a speech, say, attacking a piece of legislation, but then they vote to support it anyway, well, their official position is one of support. Look at how they vote. Sometimes MPs, particularly on the government side of the House, will deliberately make a speech attacking a bill, or a motion as in this case, in order to demonstrate their position to their constituents. It's like, well, look what I said in the House. I said this, you see. But then they still vote for it. Well, the vote is where they really stand. If their vote does not seem to tally with what they said, their vote is what counts. Because that is what has force. Nothing they say in Parliament has any force. What does have force is their vote. Because their vote is for a change or for the status quo. So it has a material impact. I'm not counting abstentions here, by the way, because they can be there's lots of reasons for abstentions. They can be misinterpreted. And the upshot of yesterday's debate is that MPs were asked their views on the Privileges Committee special report with the conclusion that the 7 MPs and 3 peers maligned the committee unfairly, as well as sought to influence the outcome. However, there was no vote because not a single MP objected to those conclusions. There was support for them, no objection. Yes, Jacob Rees-Mogg and the others stood up and made themselves look ridiculous, but they didn't object to the report when it came to using their vote, because they could have said that they objected to it, triggered a vote, and then we would have seen how many objected and how many did not. Which means that officially, for all Rees-Mogg's misplaced verbosity, when MPs were lining up to support the conclusions of the report that he was a malignant streak of piss, he did not object. He therefore agrees with the assessment. You know, I had spoken as well of a Lib Dem amendment which would have called for the malignant 7 to face investigations of their own. The amendment was not put forward by the Speaker. Unfortunately, because I wasn't following things closely yesterday, I was out. I don't actually know the reason why. I've not been able to really find out why. The report itself opened up the possibility of further investigations, so it seemed relevant to me. Sometimes fair enough, an MP will, or even a whole party, will propose an amendment to a bill that's really got nothing. They're trying to tack it on. Happens in America quite a bit, but you know, it doesn't work in this country. The Speaker will just go, well, no, that's got nothing to do with the bill, or in this case, the motion. But in this case, I would have thought it did, because the special report did actually suggest that maybe MPs would like to order more investigations. So it seemed relevant. I'm not sure why it wasn't selected, but it wasn't. So there was no way for MPs to vote for or against a follow-up investigation. So we have to leave it at that. The House of Commons has unanimously agreed that Nadine Dorries, Jacob Rees-Mogg, Mark Jenkinson, Michael Fabricant, Brendan Clark-Smith, Priti Patel and Andrea Jenkins are all bellends, but they will face no further action. But there were some interesting points brought up in the debate. I'll go through a couple, or sort of one on either side, although both from Conservative MPs, I will say. So arguably the most touching, or the most human, shall we say, was an all too rare example of a Tory MP taking a stand against the toxic behaviour of the malignant 7. Laura Farris, Conservative MP, decided to broach the accusations, not against her own colleagues, because remember, her own colleagues have come under fire as well, but Harriet Harman, the Labour MP, who agreed to chair the committee when Chris Bryant recused himself due to his past criticisms of Boris Johnson. Farris noted that Harman had been long known as a champion of women's rights in the House, and that at the time of her appointment to the committee had only recently lost her husband. Farris asked MPs which was more likely, that Harman, who'd already announced she'd be stepping down at the next election at this point, was offering one last act of service to Parliament, or that she was just in it to get at Johnson. What was even more remarkable as she spoke was not just that this was a Conservative MP defending a Labour MP against some on her own side, but that she was clearly very emotional reading the statement, a sign that some Conservatives clearly deplore the toxicity of some of their own colleagues. It's a shame there's not enough of them to have taken a proper stand against it. Naturally, those named in the report were in attendance. Most of them decided to say something stupid as far as I can tell. But the prize, I think, surely has to go to Andrea Jenkins. She got up and referenced Magna Carta. Oh dear. They do this. But hers was even better. She stood up and with a loud, clear voice uttered the words, "Magna Carta was issued in 2015. Well, I mean, she was only out by 800 years. Thanks for playing. Now, particularly dim MPs do refer to Magna Carta a lot. They often reference it. When I say often, I mean exclusively reference it in regards free speech. Usually, when I mean that, I say always, as a justification for saying something which harms another. That's what they mean. When they talk about, when anyone who invokes Magna Carta with reference to free speech, what they actually mean is, I want the freedom to deny someone else their freedom. But Magna Carta has ceased to have any power in law for over 800 years. And when it did, it had nothing to do with free speech, really. It's nothing more than a historical curiosity, though. It's not law. And Jenkins did the same thing. She attempted to suggest that she should be allowed to say whatever she likes, even if it causes material harm, because of a document that a rascally king 8 centuries ago was forced to sign against his will, and which promptly ceased to exist in law 10 years later when he could get away with it. It gets more and more tiresome every time these boneheads invoke it. Freedom of speech or expression is no freedom at all if it takes a form which denies other people those same freedoms. Which is why all freedoms have to come with responsibility. It comes with the responsibility that your freedom does not prevent someone else enjoying the same freedom. And words have the power to make things happen. This is the very basis upon which parliaments around the world even exist. Why does a parliament exist? Because words matter. Because that's all parliaments do. They say things. That's it. They say things. They make statements. That is it. That is the be all and end all of parliaments. They don't do anything else. And if words can make things happen, then they can make bad things happen as well as good. So people should choose their words carefully. Indeed, politicians are nothing if not wordsmiths. Every aspect of their job involves making statements. When they're trying to win election, they're making statements. When they're going around their constituency, they're making statements. When they're standing up in Parliament, they're making statements. When they're on select committees, statements. When they're government ministers, their job is all day and all night making statements. Occasionally, they're supposed to listen every now and then as well. Of all people, they should understand the responsibility which comes with forming those statements. But that'll be that now. Johnson's gone. It's not in the interest of the malignant 7 to keep bleating about it, because it would only serve to paint their party in a bad light, which makes their own chances of re-election that bit more difficult. Partygate hasn't gone anywhere, of course. As a result of their stupidity, the Met Police are now investigating at least 2 other lockdown-breaking parties involving Conservatives, including one at their headquarters. Doubtless opposition candidates will also bring up their ill-judged statements on the matter during the general election itself as well. But there we are. Those are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments below. I hope you found the video interesting. If you did, please click the like button. And if you'd like to support the channel further, the join button for memberships. And until next time, I'll see you later.